Hey, welcome back to the channel, guys. It's Finance Stannis, and I finally hit $300,000 in the Robinhood stock portfolio, and it's taken me a little bit less than 6 years to finally achieve this goal. And let me tell you guys, I'm pretty happy to share with you guys that I finally hit this milestone. Obviously, we're not going to stop here. We're going to keep on growing the portfolio and eventually hit $500,000 and $1 million in the portfolio, right? And probably allocate a little bit more funds into different assets as time goes on. But as for now, I kind of just want to drop a video, let you guys know I finally hit this goal and show you that it's possible to hit these really big numbers with consistency. You don't necessarily have to start with a lot of income coming in or start with a big bonus. You just got to start. And that's what made the difference for me back in the day, 6 years ago. Just starting off with my fast food income and putting a little bit of money on the side. Eventually it's grown into $300,000, which pretty much all I've done is just put money into my portfolio and chose stocks that I thought were going to be successful in the future. To bring you back 6 years ago, I pretty much didn't have any money to my name, probably close to a couple $100, and I started off investing with solely my money that I've earned throughout working. So I started off working at fast food, and then I allocated some of my money into the portfolio. At that time, it was probably closer to $50 to $100 every paycheck. So maybe like altogether, probably around like $200 to $300 a month with my fast food paycheck. So that was pretty aggressive back in the day. Granted, I didn't have a vehicle to pay for or anything like that. I just took the bus and walked to work, and then eventually I would just add all the money into my stock portfolio. And then eventually I moved on and got a different job, which has taken me from an income of about $2,000 a month to about closer to $6,000 a month, which has drastically changed the amount of money I was able to invest into my portfolio, just because of the fact that I would have more discretionary income. And I'm really grateful for that, because that allowed me to really start increasing the size of my portfolio, because I had a lot more money to add into it. But it doesn't change the fact that even though back in the 2022, 23, 24, even if the market was down, I was still investing into the stock market, and there wasn't really a break in investing every single month. I would continue to invest, and that's like the major reason why I was really successful so far with this portfolio, was my constant need to invest. And the strategy that allowed me to actually see this through was having a constant, consistent income that I could invest into my portfolio no matter what. And I had all my bills paid, all that stuff, and I was able to just focus and spending all my money, or most of my money, into this. One of the drawbacks of actually doing this was not putting too much money into like real life and enjoying a bunch of outside activities and stuff. But I think so far it's been worth it. You gotta make some type of sacrifice to see insane growth, and that's what I've done. That's what I've done so far in my early 20s, and I'll probably continue doing this until like closer, probably to my early 30s, honestly. And then at that point, I'll probably start to coast off. At least that's what I tell myself. I might be just too far deep in the game where I just gotta be kind of consistently investing, but it's a problem for later on. And then obviously choosing some of the individual stocks that I've chosen has allowed me to see a huge gain, because as of right now, my portfolio is pretty much doubled from all the money I have invested into it. The total amount of money I have invested into Robinhood is about $150,000, and obviously we're at $300,000, so I've pretty much doubled my investments in 6 years. And then so like a big part of that is obviously constantly investing, but choosing the right stocks, especially in the long term, which is my main goal, is to choose stocks that I can just keep forever. I'm not really a big fan of selling and buying stocks. I want to just buy into a stock and remain in that stock indefinitely. Most of my stocks I've owned for the majority of those years, and I don't really plan on selling out of any of them either. So yeah, this allows me to invest into my future, and I'm not constantly worrying about whether the market's up or down. and wondering if I need to sell off my whole entire portfolio to just maintain the money that I have left, because I'm really in it for the long term. As my portfolio has increased in size over time, I've seen a lot more dividend income come in, and same with interest income. The majority of all that has been reinvested back into the stocks, and I haven't really pulled out that money to just live off of yet. As for challenges along the way, honestly, I haven't seen that many challenges. I feel like I've maintained my investing strategies pretty simple over the years. I think the most difficult thing is finding a good value stock that you could invest into and not worry about if it goes down. And if it does go down, you're able to just buy right back into that stock and continue to buy into it, knowing that eventually it'll go back up, and not worrying about like, oh, am I going to lose my money? That's like the main fear for most people, and even for me, is finding that stock that is valued decently and is not overpriced, that is not overpriced and maybe even undervalued. If it's undervalued, you might have to do a little bit more mental gymnastics to try to figure out if you're going to be able to consistently invest into the stock, knowing that it might take some time to eventually see the growth. But if you do have the will to actually see it through, then obviously it can be pretty lucrative. As for me, I have been able to hold through some of these stocks, and it has become pretty lucrative. For Palantir, I've 10x'd on Palantir, and same with Meta. I've pretty much 10x'd or close to, I think it was like 7x on Meta. But those are just some of the stocks that I've invested into that have increased substantially over the years, even though they were undervalued at a certain time. Even now that they're either valued fairly or overvalued. Palantir, I think it's pretty overvalued, but regardless, it has gone up in price. As for going from 100K to 200K to 300K now, I honestly kind of feel the same. My life really hasn't changed that much. I think that's just because me personally, I choose not to change my life that much. I may buy like a new gadget here and there, but not necessarily a gadget that's way out of whack. Like if it's like $1,000 or plus, I'm probably not gonna get it. If it's like around $100, I think it's somewhat reasonable if it's gonna add value to my life. And I also think about buying stuff as in, all right, what's my use case? Am I gonna use this every single day? How long am I gonna use this for? Am I gonna use this for greater than a year? And if those answers are yes, then I'm most likely gonna buy that product, and I'm just gonna maintain it and use it for like indefinitely until it breaks down. But usually the quality will be decent enough where the item is not gonna break fairly soon. So I pretty much just came to an equilibrium at this point where not much is going out and a lot of money is going towards investments, and I'm just maintaining my lifestyle. I think eventually I'll probably increase my lifestyle, but I really fall in love with the game of just putting money into my investments and seeing it grow, especially for stocks that are seeing a substantial gain or increase. Like, man, I love the game. I love it. And you can look at the fear and greed index. Like currently it's 58. So we just recently entered the greed zone, which I think is pretty insane, especially for the stock market. It's at the all-time high right now. My portfolio is at its all-time high, and that brings some worry with me. But like I said in the previous videos, just because it's all-time high doesn't mean it'll stop right there. It could just continue going up, keep on going up, and then eventually draw back a little bit. You buy, and it keeps on going up. So that's the possibility that you're gonna have to deal with, and I'm gonna have to deal with. And honestly, I'm okay with that. Like, eventually it'll come back down, and I have some money on the side. I try to keep around 10%. Right now, currently I have around like, I think 17% of just cash on the side waiting for a drawback. But the last drawback was in April, so it could be more months or maybe even a year until we see like a decent drawback. But I'll be there. I'll be waiting to buy into those stocks, and I'll be excited to buy into them, especially if they're undervalued. As far as future goals and hitting even higher amounts of money in my portfolio, I think I'm just kind of just due for it, honestly, at this point. Like, I hit 300,000, I'm gonna hit 400,000, I'm gonna hit 500,000. Whether I hit it next year or 2 years or 10 years from now, I'm going to hit it eventually, especially if I don't do absolutely nothing. I will eventually hit those numbers. But the thing is, if I'm very active about investing and then putting more money aside, or just investing, I guess you could say, correctly, or just putting money into the stocks that actually see a return fairly soon, then yeah, I'm gonna hit those numbers pretty fast. Yeah, I think that's one of the wonders and one of the great things about finally hitting $100,000 in your portfolio. Actually seeing substantial growth in portfolio really fast and seeing huge numbers go up and down and not being worried about it and just keep on pushing through and seeing it through. Like, it's really hard to imagine and see why investing is worthwhile when you have like $100 portfolio and you see your account go up like maybe $1.50. You're like, oh, $1.50, I'll throw that on the street and not care about it. I don't care about $1.50. But the thing is, you can't think about the dollars and 50 cents. You gotta think about it in the percents wise, because that's really where all the money is in the percents. You get to a point where you don't think like, oh, I made $10,000, I made $5,000. You know, you think like, oh, my portfolio went up 2%, 3%, 10%. 10% is a huge amount. You should be very proud of yourself. You hit like 10%, or or see a substantial percent increase for the day or in your stock. You should be incredibly happy. The dollar amount doesn't really matter that much, especially if you're starting off low. It doesn't really matter. Obviously, it doesn't really affect you that much. But even at this point, like, I think my portfolio has increased. Let's see today. My portfolio increased $1,000 today. I don't really feel any type of way about that. It's just another day. If I were to lose like $2,000 today, I wouldn't feel any different either. Yeah, that just comes with time in the market and seeing stuff, like eventually you see enough stuff where you're just like, it doesn't really bother you and you're just kind of used to it. That's one of those things that have altered my perspective as my time investing has increased. If you guys are aiming to finally hit your $100,000, you just gotta just stay consistent. Eventually you will hit it. Like, either you're just gonna be saving cash and then you're gonna build up $100,000. Yeah, it's gonna take pretty long, but eventually you'll make it there. Or if you're investing into the S&P 500, eventually you're gonna make it there. Every couple years you should be able to see a decent increase in your portfolio. Eventually you're gonna hit that goal. As long as you stay consistent and you don't pull from your portfolios and like spend all your money on some random stuff that's not gonna see an increase in value, then you're pretty solid and you're eventually going to hit $100,000. And let me tell you, man, once you hit $100,000, you're going to just see your portfolio blow up. And I'll be excited for you too. All right, guys, I'm just curious. If you guys were to have $300,000 in your Robinhood portfolio, would you maintain most of your money in the stocks, or would you just pull it out, buy a house somewhere in the middle of the country, and call it quits? Me personally, I want to continue going and keep on striving to see bigger numbers and stuff. But is this the right move, or am I going down the wrong path and I should just cut my losses and then sell everything and then buy some other assets? Let me know what you guys think down below in the comments. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video.